Today I am interviewing former U.S. Women's National Team player Shannon MacMillan. Miss MacMillan is an Olympic gold medalist and silver medalist, was a member of the '99 team who won the World Cup, is in the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame, and scored 60 international goals during her career, earning her a spot on the list of top 10 scorers for the U.S. Women's National Team, along with a whole other list of accomplishments throughout her career. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You have all of these amazing accomplishments as a field player. Did you ever have an opportunity, even as a youth player, to play in goal?
I didn't. I don't know that I'm crazy enough to be in goal.
Yeah, it's not for everyone.
Yeah, no, I was always, when growing up, I was always really fast. So they always had me in a
Right.
forward type position. And I'll be honest, I don't think I was brave enough to be in goal and do what you guys do. So they kept me as far away as possible. And I was fortunate to make a career trying to beat you.
Yeah. You had the opportunity to play with two of the best female goalkeepers of all time, Brianna Scurry and Hope Solo. What was it like playing with them and facing them in training?
It was incredible, to be honest. And I actually just saw Brianna Scurry this past weekend. We were doing something for the Olympics this summer, and they had us juggling at one point, and Bri happened to be right across me, and I just found myself hitting it at her harder than juggling and passing it to the others. And it was just something instinctual. And we just kind of made eye contact a couple times and laughed because, when you have keepers like that behind you and you have the ability to train with them all week in and day out, they make you better because you have to be at the top of your game during training. And that obviously translates over into the game. And so when you have the ability to have that, just like playing against, the best defenders in the world, it only makes you better. So I feel very, very fortunate to have been able to play along the sides of amazing keepers like that.
Throughout your career, how did you view goalkeepers? And did that opinion change as you progressed into the college and professional level?
I'll be honest, as a youth player in club ball, our goalkeepers were always the goofy, crazy ones. And so we always kind of just thought they're the goofy, crazy ones. And then, yeah, as you go up in levels and as soon as I got to college, and I'll be honest, I was one of those where if we got scored on, it was like, oh, you messed up. And it wasn't really till college that I got an appreciation for, especially as a forward. I'm the first line of defense. So if we get scored on, it started with me up top. And before they even got to that position, they had to get through 10 other players. So, I changed mindset and celebrated the big saves that they did make to keep us in the games and had a better appreciation for what they do, from the training all the way through to games. And, I remember with the national team, one of the times, Julie Foudy teasing Bri and the other keepers about fitness and how they got off easy because they weren't running 120s with us. And Bri gladly invited Foudy over to, experience what goalkeeper training was. And I think it took Foudy all of maybe 20 seconds to realize, wow, you guys are intense over here too. So much respect to that. So
yeah, I think the narrative sometimes with youth players, is that goalkeepers have an easier position or we don't have to do as much. So it's nice to hear from a former U.S. Women's National Team player that's not.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, when I'm coaching those younger teams too, I rotate everybody through the goal. And it's to get an appreciation and a respect that I didn't have at their age for that. Because I won't stand as a coach, I won't allow anyone to turn around and blame the goalkeeper. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to make mistakes out there on the field. And as a coach, I want to see how people respond to those mistakes. So by rotating everybody through, even those that absolutely don't want to do it, everybody's going to play there and everyone's going to give up goals and they're going to have that feeling of, oh, I let the team down or, oh my gosh, and have an appreciation. So when our goalkeeper does happen to give up a goal, they're, patting them on the back saying, hey, we got you, get your head up, you're okay. Because I think there needs to be more respect for that position for sure, especially at the youth levels.
Yeah. Okay. Lauren Gregg once said that your keen sense for the goal was always what stood out to her. Obviously, that's true because you're one of the top goal scorers of all time. But what characteristics of a goalkeeper did you find most difficult to deal with?
Gosh, I think just most difficult to deal with were the ones that, were really agile. You see a shorter type goalkeeper, your mindset goes to, hit it higher, or, one that's maybe not as agile, you want to hit it lower type stuff. So I always took time pregame, as I was warming up, to try to catch a glimpse of the other keeper warming up, to kind of see what their strengths are, or, maybe what they're not so strong at, so that I could try to, exploit that. But, there's an intensity and a bravery in the best goalkeepers I've seen, to come running out and dive at someone's feet that's running at you full speed and about to hit a ball at your face. There's a bravery there. So I think there was always an intensity, and just commitment, that I think makes the best keepers stand out.
Can you tell us, as a club director and coach, what role participation in youth sports, in this case soccer, plays in the development of young women?
That's a great question, and I'm a huge proponent, because I lived it. The game teaches us so many life lessons that go well beyond the field, and help, especially young women, be confident women. When I went off to college, I was 17. I was scared, timid, lacked confidence, and it was my college coach, Clive Charles, that actually helped me to pick my head up and realize that it's okay as a female to be strong and confident and powerful. And that comes from the game, because it teaches you about leadership. It teaches you about overcoming adversity. It teaches you about the teamwork. You don't have to be best friends with all your teammates, but when you cross that line, you have to have that same common goal and be willing to leave everything else behind and do everything to reach that goal. So I think it's massive in the development of young women. And there's, as you go higher, it's less and less players, but these life skills that the game can translate into just confident and successful women well beyond soccer.
Sometimes goalkeepers are isolated from the rest of the team in the way that coaches design practices, and even in the social construct of the team. How do you, as a coach, make the goalkeeper feel more included during training and make them feel that they are a part of the team?
I think it's gotten easier these days, just because goalkeepers, I think in general, are better athletes now. And you want to be able to play through your goalkeeper, whether it's, your defender facing their own goal and using the goalkeeper as an outlet, or trying to draw the field bigger, playing back through. So, I think in warm-up, have them warm up with the team, with the jogging and the stretching and the small-sided stuff. Have them get comfortable with their feet. Or even, a keep away game where, to get a point, you have to chip it into your keeper, so the keeper's moving and having that. Because let's be honest, as females, we're social beings. And even though you maybe just played or just saw your best friend at high school an hour ago, you get to the field, it's like you haven't seen him in days. You need that time to, talk and fill each other in and gossip and do all that goofy stuff. So if you have the keepers involved in that early aspect of the training, that goes a long way. And helps build that camaraderie. So I think it's really important to, from the get-go, warm up, have them involved in just when you're warming up your body in general. And then as you move into more specific, have them do their keeper stuff, and then try to get them involved, even if it's small-sided games. Let them play, because they need to be able to read the game and react and use their feet just like any other player.
Delving deeper into that question, I know I've had personal experience being on a team where the coach doesn't necessarily understand the position and doesn't really view the goalkeeper as a vital part of the team. So I've been put in situations where, I've just been sent to take goal kicks for hour practice until they're ready to take shots, or they put the pair of goalkeepers and have them, take volleys at each other while they're doing, formation drills and passing drills. What advice would you give to a goalkeeper that's put in a situation like that?
Yeah, and sadly, I see that all too often. That's a great point you bring up. And my best advice would be to talk to the coach and just say, hey, coach, I want to be involved with the team. I can do the passing exercises.
Right.
Maybe I'm not going to be the best passer out here, but it's going to help me in the game, and educate them. Because there are, and when I first started coaching too, and it was like warming up a keeper, I'm like, all right, what do you need? I don't know. I made a living trying to beat goalkeepers. I don't know how to warm you up and get you ready. we're always on opposite ends. So I think it's important to educate them and do it in a way of just like, I want to be more involved. And I want to, put it on you. If I want to get better with my feet, I think jumping into the passing exercises or the small sided is going to help me, because I want to be an outlet for my defense and et cetera, and kind of put it on you, and maybe just, plant some seeds where they're like, okay.
Yeah.
And then just, from there kind of build on that. But, that takes a lot of courage as a youth player. I think, a lot of the youth coaches these days aren't the most open. They, have their mindset and their ways. So I think if you could do that, that's a life lesson too, confronting something and finding a way to solve it and make it better for you guys. And, even just as you get to practice early, start passing with your teammates, let them start seeing, oh, wait, there is more to it, because you're right. That's a waste to go kick long kicks or hit punts to each other for an hour back and forth, or in the goal on your own. And that is isolation. So I would definitely be courageous and talk to them about it and say, I think I can do some of these drills, or maybe use me as an outlet. You get a point if you can play it to my hands and I don't have to move too, something like that. Just be creative. But that's definitely going to take a confidence that I definitely didn't have at your age. So I hope you do.
Okay. Statistically, a good portion of girls playing youth soccer quit by the time they are 11 or 12. This is especially prevalent for goalkeepers. What advice do you have for young girls that reach the point of wanting to quit?
Yeah, I think what's really important is that you have to really figure out what it is that you're passionate about, what it is that you truly, truly love, and that is unique to you. And it's going to be different than your parents. It's going to be different than your siblings. It very well might be different than your best friend. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to be hard. And the more you play and the higher level you start to go, the harder it gets. And if you don't truly have a passion for something, the minute it gets hard is when you go, oh, okay, I'll go do something else. So, for me, I was fortunate. I played softball, I ran track, I played basketball, and I played soccer. And for me, soccer was always the sport that when I stepped on that field, no matter if I had a bad grade or an argument at home, whatever it was, that all just disappeared. And for 2 hours, I got to play, and it was my release. So when it came time to narrow it down, it was an easy decision for me. And beyond that, when I started to have the obstacles of getting cut or having injuries, I had that passion to say, I'm going to prove you wrong, and use it as motivation to prove them wrong. So, and it very well may not be soccer. It could be something else. It could be, being a musician. It could be your studies. But figure out what it is that makes you happy, that you can't wait to do every day, and that when you're doing it, no matter what else is going on, brings a smile to your face, and hold on to it. And that's where I think we do lose a lot of players way too young and way too early. But a lot of that comes from maybe the environment of the coaches. So it's about making sure 10, 11-year-olds, they should be having fun. Practice should be fun. Games should be fun. It shouldn't be robotic. It should be something they enjoy and that they start building that passion for. But big thing is just figure out what it is that you're passionate about and hold on to it, because that's what it's all about.
Goalkeepers sometimes face the most pressure of any player on the field. You went through a lot of stressful situations during your career. How did you learn to deal with that as a player? And what advice can you give to a young goalkeeper who feels that kind of pressure?
Yeah, I think, and another really good question. And for me, especially with the national team, I had that person, which happened to be Joy Fawcett, who is still a dear, dear friend of mine, who would tell me straight. If I had a bad day, she would say, Mac, you sucked. Tomorrow's another day, just let it go and come back out tomorrow. But at the same time, she'd be the one be like, yeah, you're kind of getting a raw deal, but hang in there. So it's really important to have that person in your corner that sees you for you, that you can just cry with and tell the world's unfair and they're going to shoot you straight and help you get back in it. So I think especially for goalkeepers, because it is often like, oh, you're the one that gave up the goal. But that specifically invite other people, say, hey, you know what, you're more than welcome to come throw these gloves on and try out and how hard it is.
Yeah.
And really just have, I think goalkeepers especially have an extra strong fortitude, because it's not easy back there. And I know that. And it's just, I think the more you can get involved with the team as well, and know that you have that support, that will help you, because there is going to be a lot of pressure. And especially nowadays, what you guys have to contend with social media and stuff, we joke about, no one knew who we were most of the time, or, the fact of the 96 Olympics, we got a little old school pager that was able to receive like 16 characters, it was my brother saying, "Good luck, sis." That was the extent of our social media. And nowadays, everything's so just in your face. So
Yeah.
it's really, really hard. So really find that person that you can lean on, but it's also going to give you that kick in the butt when you need it.
We're trying to speak to young female goalkeepers, but I think that your experience and insight, even as someone who didn't play the position, can resonate with young girls and boys who aspire to reach the level that you did. What piece of advice and guidance would you give to those kids?
I think it just goes back to find out what it is that you truly love. And I think there's a lot of pressure on kids nowadays because the parents, I want my daughter to be on the national team, and I want my daughter to be the next Julie Ertz or Megan Rapinoe or whomever it is. And at the end of the day, it's your journey. My son happens to be a pure rec soccer player. And people look at me and they're like, "Why isn't your kid playing competitive?" I'm like, because this isn't about me. It's about him. I just want him to be healthy and have fun, and that's what it's about. So it's really important that you figure that out. And it's hard when you have parents pushing you and private lessons and this and that and all that. So it's really important to figure out what it is that you truly, truly love, that you'll fight for, that you'll get up, like I said, excited to do and be a part of, and not fall prey to, well, my best friend's doing this, so I guess I'll just do that, even though I don't really enjoy it, or my parents want me to do this, whatever it is. It's got to be what you want, because at the end of the day, you have to put the work in, and it won't be easy. So you have to be, if you don't enjoy it, you're going to start resenting it.
Okay, final question. I've watched the film, and I know many others have, of the golden goal you scored in the 1996 Olympics semifinal game against Norway. Many players of all ages and levels fantasize about having a moment in a game of that importance and capacity. Can you tell us how you felt at that moment and how it feels to think back on?
Wow, that's one of those moments where it's so hard to put it into words. And, as an athlete my entire life, I always loved watching sports on TV, especially the Olympics. To this day, I love watching NFL. And you always hear about athletes being in the zone. And part of me was like, what does that really mean? What does that feel like? And now that I've rewatched that goal and seeing how far back the buildup was, it was just one of those moments like, I don't remember how far I actually ran and how perfect that pass was from Julie Foudy, because it was perfectly weighted, split the defenders. I ran behind the one, and I took a peek and saw the keeper, and it just felt like everything slowed down, and it was slow motion. And the minute I hit it, I knew it was going in. So my arms went up, and it was like, where's my teammates? Because I knew we won. But it never was just like, oh, I did it. It was like, we are now in the first ever gold medal game for women's soccer. And it was the most incredible feeling. I was just teasing Julie Foudy about it this week, and I'm like, that pass was perfect, because if it was a little harder, I might have had to do a little more, because the keeper would have swallowed it up. If it was too slow, I could have been offside. So it was just one of those moments, and it actually came from all the way in the back, and Carla Overbeck to Foudy. And when you watch it, it's just like, whoa, that is just, something I always dreamt of being a part of, and to have that is just an incredible feeling. And I just feel so fortunate to have even been a part of that team with everybody.
Yeah, I think seeing that moment play out, even, I wasn't around to watch it. At the
You're going to make me feel old now.
It still inspired a whole generation of youth players, to feel like they can do that same thing as women in soccer.
Absolutely. And, I dreamt of being in the Olympics long before women's soccer was even an Olympic sport. Whether it was Winter Olympics or Summer Olympics, I found myself just glued to the TV, eating dinner in front of the TV and watching all these amazing athletes, because I love the stories, because every athlete has a story. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to be an Olympian. Boom, you're an Olympian. There's stories of injuries and adversity and all that stuff. And that stuff just always spoke to me. I have a good friend of mine from high school. Her mom after we won the 96 was like, you know, when you were in high school, you sat at my dining room table and told me you're going to be in the Olympics. She goes, and I looked at my husband and we kind of both chuckled. And inside I thought, oh, this poor girl doesn't realize soccer's not an Olympic sport. And she goes, but you said it with such conviction. I didn't want to be the one to tell you no. She's like, and now that I look back, like, wow, I'm so glad you didn't. And I was like, you know, I don't know how it was going to happen, but I had that dream. So it's important to have those dreams. It's important to be willing to make the sacrifices, you know, and beyond all the medals and championships, what's most incredible and special to me is the sisterhood I have with all those players that are like family and stuff like that. You know, you can't put a price on that. You can't really put words to it, but it's the most incredible feeling. And you know, why I was always drawn to team sports too. I love the camaraderie that comes with team sports.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me today and doing this interview. It really means a lot to me and all of our mentors. And I hope other young goalkeepers watch this and listen to your responses, and, you know, and thank you for inspiring this generation of female athletes.
Well, thank you. And I absolutely love what you're doing. I hope that you guys, you know, keep mentoring all these younger players. And I wish you guys all the best and appreciate what you're doing. And it's an honor to be here. So know that I love you, goalkeepers. Keep fighting and take care of yourselves.
Thank you.
Take care.